Hello everyone, and welcome to our pre-reading video for Louisa May Alcott's Little Women. This is our new installment to our Women in American Literature series. I am so very excited, as always, to share this truly classic novel with you. Little Women is very close to my heart and to many hearts around the world. So I want to start by talking about the author. Louisa May Alcott was born in 1832 in Pennsylvania, and she passed away in 1888. What that means is her life spans the Civil War. And indeed, Little Women is set during the Civil War and beyond. This really is a story about a family going through transitions during a time of transition in America as well. So that's something important to remember, something important to think about. What does it mean for a family to go through transition along with a nation, particularly the United States? Of course, Alcott built a lot of things into her novel, including the location. Little Women is set during the American Civil War and its aftermath in Concord, Massachusetts, which is 77 miles from Boston, a short trip away. Concord, Massachusetts is in New England, as we will see. And the story is semi-autobiographical. Alcott herself, like the writer Jo in Little Women, is the second of four sisters. One of the big important things about Alcott's life, and also that time and place, and the novel, of course, is that it's a good representation of American Romanticism and Transcendentalism. If this is not a word you've heard before, I really encourage you to think about it, to look it up. Ralph Waldo Emerson, author of Nature, and Henry David Thoreau, author of Walden. They both lived in Concord, and they were both friends to the family, the Alcotts. And they really did leave a mark on American philosophy and American history. And so there's a lot of inspiration towards transcendentalism in Little Women. And transcendentalism is closely related to Romanticism. One other thing to note is that this is, of course, a time of abolition and liberation, a time of transition, like I mentioned, towards progressivism. Not quite modern yet, but past the Enlightenment. This is a time in American history where there's a lot of change in people's beliefs about society, beliefs about race and gender, about social class, definitely. And we should think about it in those ways: abolition and liberation, liberalism, etc. So, where exactly is Concord? As you can see, it is here in New England, in the American Northeast, a really different geographical location compared to the South, the Deep South, the coast, the Midwest, etc. It's very lush and really beautiful, but also really close to Boston, which is the center of American history, part of the original colonies, something to think about. It has beautiful seasons as well. And so I like to start, as always, with a few reflection questions. I'll tell you what they are, but keep these three words in mind: childhood growing up, nature, and art. So, how would you describe your childhood? And how has your family life with your parents, your siblings, etc., impacted you for better and or for ill? It's been said that no two children experience the same childhood, even if they're siblings, even if they're twins, even if they grow up under the same roof, in the same room. Your inner world is shaped by so many different factors. that no two individuals are alike. And also, we change as individuals. So when I read Little Women now, I experience completely different things compared to what I experienced when I was much younger. The novel doesn't change, but we change. And so think about how you would describe your childhood and think about how your view of childhood shifts across time and how the novel impacts the way you think about your relationships with your family members. A second thing to note is what is your relationship with nature, capital N? How has the natural world impacted your lived experience, and how has nature impacted your character and your philosophy of life? The natural world is so important to us. We are natural beings, no matter how much we put ourselves in artificial environments. I think we all recognize that we are natural beings, and our relationships with nature, different kinds of nature, are important. And so you will see, of course, that there are all kinds of nature in Little Women, the forest, the lake, etc. And important to think about what your own relationships are and how they can be connected to the relationships in the novel. Third, and this is connected to nature, I think we often use art to describe nature. What is your relationship to art? And how have the aesthetic realms of life impacted you? The sisters, the entire family really, is really artistic and aesthetic. They have different pursuits, but they all connect their inner natures and their experiences of their world, and then they put it into their art. And of course, their art changes the way they perceive the world as well. And so think about your own relationship to art, different types, right? Performance art, visual art, and think about how aesthetic pursuits, pursuit of beauty and wonder, how these things impact you and how you live your life day by day. I'd like to move now and go through some really important themes, and I'll go through them in a series of discussions. But I'd like to start with this big one, the power of sisterhood, and I'd like to draw you into a memory of mine. I was once asked to introduce ways of thinking about literature to undergraduate students, and I have always thought about, what do students care about when they are 18, 19? And the first thing that I realized was you really think about your family life differently as a young adult. And so I've engaged this tradition, this theme, in different ways. Today I'll show you a few film adaptations. Many of them are film adaptations that are very famous, of works of literature that are also very famous, to highlight this theme of sisterhood. And this is one way to think about literature, film, and art, cut across different works and describe the similarities and the differences. Do a series of compare and contrast, and then really situate your work of focus, in our case, Little Women, situate the work of focus against the different works in this set. So think of this as a playlist, right? An album, a collage, a curated gallery, so to speak. The first is Pride and Prejudice. Keira Knightley, in this famous version, plays, of course, Lizzie, right? Elizabeth Bennet, second of five sisters, right? And the second of five sisters, like Jo, second of four. It's an interesting place to be, and there are definitely similarities between Elizabeth Bennet and Jo March. And there are similarities between Meg and Jane, for example. There are lots of comparisons that we can make here. Of course, Pride and Prejudice is famous for its romance, but it's also famous for its depictions of social life, family life. Of course, Mr. Darcy has a famous younger sister too. She only appears very briefly, but Georgiana, I always connected to this relationship because I have a younger sister myself. But think about how even in the early 19th century, Jane Austen was already thinking about the way sisters interact and how they influence each other. Okay. Of course, Austen didn't just write Pride and Prejudice. I should mention Sense and Sensibility also. This particular version was directed by Ang Lee, and real star-studded cast. So Sense and Sensibility is a dichotomy, right? And so there are two sisters, the Dashwoods, Eleanor and Marianne. They respectively represent and embody sense and sensibility, and throughout the story, they both move towards each other. And that's really important to remember that we are born into some kinds of characteristics, but we must overcome our gifts, or lest they become our burdens. This is true of the Dashwood sisters. It's true of everyone, I think. And it's really interesting for this reason and beyond. So again, Sense and Sensibility is not just about the romance, but it focuses on the differences and then the connection between these sisters. Of course, the Dashwoods, there's another sister, I think, but the core focus here is Sense and Sensibility, these two. Now, I want to mention a work that is not from the English canon because it's connected to this film. So why was Ang Lee tapped to direct Sense and Sensibility? Apparently it was because Emma Thompson, who wrote the screenplay, watched this film, Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, in 是男女, which is also about sisters, three sisters, 朱家三姐妹, Jia Zhen, Jia Qian, Jia Ning, and their dynamics and their relationships. I think it's really interesting to go from two sisters to three sisters, this balance between the three of them, and how each of them moves, again, because of their connections, they move towards something different from how they started. And there's a famous line in this film that Emma Thompson says once she saw that interaction, she knew that Ang Lee could direct Sense and Sensibility, and I'll show you that in a moment. But just to say here, I highly recommend this film set in Taipei in the 90s, about sisterhood, about family, about transition, and truly a feast for the eyes, so to speak. Now, sisterhood doesn't just appear in live-action film. It also appears in animation. Frozen is, for all intents and purposes, a Disney princess film, but Disney princesses don't traditionally focus on their siblings, right? Disney princess films like Snow White, like Cinderella, like Sleeping Beauty, they focus on their romantic interests, their love interests, not their relationships with their siblings. But here we have, in the 21st century, true love that exists between sisters, Elsa and Anna. They're also very different. They have different needs and wants, different desires, different things to overcome, but they really do find solace and love, belonging, and growth through each other. And so even in animation, we have strong examples of sisterhood. All to say that Little Women belongs to all kinds of traditions, but let's situate them here. Let's situate the four sisters here. Meg, Beth, Jo, and Amy. The four of them, they each have their limitations. They each have their characteristics. They each have their pursuits. And they each have things that we can connect to. And we can definitely relate to the dynamics, the very famous scenes in the novel that are always adapted when they are shown on screen. Examples like the lake, if you don't know, or the burning of the manuscript, for example. Those things, right, are deeply embedded in the memories and the imaginations of readers, because we can all connect to these kinds of incidents with our siblings. So, what is this famous line that I mentioned that I think can and should apply to all kinds of relationships, but certainly to sisters, to siblings? What do you know of my heart? 而你对我的心又了解多少? We can live under the same roof. We can grow up together, but still, how much do we really know about each other? How much do we really know about ourselves, our hearts? I will return to this quote again and again because these things change and these insights develop over time. I want to leave you just for a second here. Think through this question for yourself, just for a moment. What do you know of my heart? From one sister to another. Little Women is filled with memorable quotes. And over the years, I've put some on my desktop. I've collected different quotes and images to put on my desktop. And this one has never left in the years that I've put it up. They rotate through, and I was able to capture this yesterday. So let me read it for you. This is very early in the novel, and it's a famous scene with Marmee reading, and then she's surrounded by her girls during a cold and wet evening. Quote, "Give them all of my dear love and a kiss." So this is a father writing. "Tell them I think of them by day, pray for them by night, and find my best comfort in their affection at all times. A year seems very long to wait before I see them, but remind them that while we wait, we may all work, so that these hard days need not be wasted. I know they will remember all I said to them, that they will be loving children to you, will do their duty faithfully, fight their bosom enemies bravely, and conquer themselves so beautifully that when I come back to them, I may be fonder and prouder than ever of my little women." It really is beautiful, but it also highlights some important things. Of course, there's our title, our namesake, Little Women, but it really highlights a father's affection for his daughters. And notice some important things here. He talks about work, which is really central to transcendentalism, but also central to progress, to American society, but also to conquer not the world, not others, but to conquer ourselves, right? To fight the enemies of our bosom enemies, what we have within us, not without, right? What is within is what we need to conquer. And this is certainly true for each of the four sisters, as we will see. And finally, there is a deep affection, a love for family, and ties to religion as well, Protestantism. So I want to end here. There's still a lot to talk about. I look forward to reading and discussing and showing you more of my voyages into the novel and in real life. I visited their home, the Orchard House, one summer. And I'll show you photos in time to come. But just look at this greenery, how green it is. Enjoy reading and happy trails to you. The novel is beautiful, and I hope that you find a sense of beauty and wonder as you read through it this time. Thank you all very much.